I now yield to the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Burton.
Is Mr. Lewis lying?
With respect to what, sir?
I said, is Mr. Lewis lying when he tells this committee that you put pressure on him along with Mr. Paulson?
All I know is that I never said that I would replace the board and management if he invoked the MAC.
What did you say? I mean, you know, sometimes there's an implication without a direct order.
I expressed concerns about the effects of invoking the MAC, both on the financial system and on the Bank of America itself. I expressed those concerns, which is appropriate, but it was always his decision whether or not to go ahead and take that decision.
Did Mr. Paulson lie when he told Mr. Cuomo that he was acting under your suggestions or orders to tell them that the board would be fired if they didn't comply?
I believe he's modified that statement. I did not tell him. I did not tell Mr. Paulson.
What did you tell him?
I didn't tell him anything like that.
What did you tell him? If you say you didn't tell him anything like that, what did you tell him?
Mr. Paulson and I had frequent conversations on a variety of matters, given our common concerns about the financial system. All I can say is I'm sure that I never told him to convey such a message to Ken Lewis.
Mr. Paulson says in a letter from New York Attorney General Andrew Cuomo to Congress, Cuomo reports that Paulson told him that Paulson made the threat at the request of Bernanke. That's not correct?
No.
Did you say you said he modified his statement? How did he modify his statement? We don't have any information.
He issued a statement to the effect that he did not receive that information from me, that he made inferences. But he did not, as far as I know, he modified his statement on that particular issue.
How about Mr. Lacker? Is he lying?
He's summarizing a long conversation. I don't recall exactly what was said.
Just had a long talk with Ben. Says they think the MAC threat is irrelevant because it's not credible. Also intends to make it even more clear that if they play that card, and then need assistance, management is gone. You didn't say anything like that?
I don't know if I did or not.
Now, you know, one of the things, I was chairman of this committee for 6 years, and we did a lot of investigating. One of the things that I learned was, in order to keep people from perjuring themselves, they couldn't remember anything. Are you sure you can't remember?
I'm sure I can't remember. But I think it's important to note that whatever conversation I had with Mr. Lacker, who is a Federal Reserve official, that I did not, in subsequent conversations with Mr. Lewis, did not make that threat.
Why did you keep the SEC in the dark?
Did not keep the SEC in the dark. We were working carefully and closely with our other regulatory agencies. The agencies that were most relevant for the Bank of America discussion were those that were involved in regulating the Bank of America and in the transaction. That would have been the Treasury, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and the Office of Controller of Currency, who were well informed.
Well, according to the New York Attorney General, Mr. Cuomo, Hank Paulson said that he intentionally kept the SEC out of the loop about your efforts to push the Bank of America merger with Merrill Lynch. This seems to be backed up by the following exchange between your general counsel, Scott Alvarez, and a New York Fed official. The New York Fed officials asked, have we conveyed anything to the SEC regarding the Bank of America situation? They know something's up. How much, if anything, has been shared with the SEC? Mr. Alvarez replied, I have not discussed this with the SEC. Bank of America has complained that someone did talk to the SEC, with the result that the SEC called late last week to say that they heard the Bank of America was negotiating a city-type deal with the U.S. government and to ask Bank of America to explain the unexpectedly high losses at Merrill Lynch. You didn't direct any of those?
I did not.
Does this, Mr. Alvarez, work for you?
He does.
He does? He did this on his own?
Again, I would emphasize that the issues at hand did not directly involve the SEC. They involved the OCC.
Are you his boss?
I'm sorry?
Are you his boss?
Yes.
Mr. Alvarez?
I am.
Would he do something like this, make this kind of a statement that could cause these kinds of problems without your authority?
I didn't have any knowledge of this particular exchange. And again, the rationale for it, as I understand now, having discussed it with him, is that the agencies that were relevant to our transaction were the FDIC, the OCC, and the Treasury. That's the ones that we kept closest in communication.
What's that?
The gentleman's time has expired.